My next add-on would be Pally Power, which a lot of paladins don't have, and you're the type of paladin I don't like to raid with, Wes, because if you don't have Pally Power, it takes too much effort and too much trouble to set it up. And now a lot of you are thinking to yourself, that's silly, it's just buffs. But when you have a bunch of guys in a raid, let's say you can have 8 paladins, everybody's going to be buffing kings because nobody had the balls to say, I have this buff or I have this buff. In addition to that, if you don't have Pally Power, you have to go individually and find each class on your frame and then buff them. But if one of them was out of range, they didn't get that buff, you have no idea until they're barking down you and saying, hey, how come I don't have this buff? And that gets annoying. In addition to that, it's just much easier to coordinate buffs by having one person assign what buffs in this Pally Power window here that each class gets, right? And it will tell me who is missing a buff, who's in range, when I can buff, and things like that. It's just very clean, very simple. A lot of you, I'm sure, have noticed that in raids, it's always the Pally buffs that are missing. So get Pally Power. I have it on all of my characters, so I can see which Pallies in the raid are good, and which Pallies in the raid are Wes, which is a Pally in our guild. I also use Click for my casting abilities. Now, this is not important in a lot of classes, especially when those who click who are not healers. Healers, this is pretty helpful depending on your heal style, and some healers don't like Click, and there's nothing wrong with that. I know of very good healers who do not use Click, but as a paladin it's really nice and easy because we only have a few healing spells. But even on my tank I use it, because if you have any type of spell that you have to apply to a person, it is extremely helpful to just be able to click their frame. These are all my click configurations. Now, the thing with Voodoo, which is my raid frames, is that it has a click built into it called in the spells tab, and again I have all that set up too, but the problem is that this settings here will not work on my frames here. It will not work on any other frames that are not Voodoo, which is why I still have Click, because I sometimes like to use it like my Righteous Defense on my target of target frame instead of having to go and find them in my raid frames. It's nice to use I use it for my Hand of Salvation, I use it for my Righteous Defense, I use it for my bubbles, I use it for my heals, I use it for my shields, I use it for basically everything that can be applied to another player. I highly suggest getting this if you are a paladin, especially. I'm not sure about other classes, as I don't play many besides paladins who have these type of assisting buffs. But that is what separates a good prot paladin from a great prot paladin, is that you use all of your abilities all of the time, and you use them well. You know, not just popping Hand of Salvation on the lowest DPS in the group because you want to use it. You want to pop it on the guy who's inching up on you in threat right before he takes it from you. You want to be able to use your bubble at good times, which there aren't many in ICC, but for instance on a nub hard modes in TOGC, you use it on to help somebody get a little extra time on those spikes. I use my Sacred Shield on people in the raid if somebody's not using it. On me, I use it on me. If somebody is using it on me, I'll go ahead and drop it on somebody who's taking a lot of damage or another tank. Somebody who's getting healed a lot, because it just gives a nice little hot to them, plus it gives them a little extra mitigation. I use Cleanse constantly, and some healers are very appreciative of that, especially druids, because they cannot cleanse magic, and I can. It's also very helpful, like let's say I'm tanking a boss, I have a good lead in threat, and there's a lot of magic or poison or disease effects going out on the raid. Now, as a healer, it's kind of annoying to have to cleanse at the same time as you're healing, because you kind of have to have a balance there. It's like triage. But as a tank, if I don't need that threat and I can kind of sit and cleanse for a while, it will immensely help out those healers and kind of make their job a lot easier. So again, that's a playstyle thing though.